Today is Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. And today, well, actually yesterday, I received the Mikrotik CRS310-8G+2S+IN. And we're installing it today. I took the liberty of unboxing it already. It comes with plastic bags. Isn't that wonderful? In the box, you should have received this little piece of paper, and the instructions are very simple. The first thing you need to go to is, well, you connect it to your computer and then download the configuration tool at mt.lv/winbox. You're going to download that. And then third, you're going to need the password that's located on the little sticker down below. So after you've downloaded Winbox, go ahead and load it up, and hopefully you'll see it just comes right up. However, if your computer has multiple network cards, you may have difficulty, as it seems that one of these devices seems to take precedence over the other. So I found on mine, I have 3 network cards. It was my 10 gig network card that I had to plug into it. And then I was able to manage it. However, if you use this on a laptop or a device that only has 1 network card, I think you're going to find that things are a little bit easier. Another thing you can do is you can actually set the IP address to 192.168.88. something. I used 10. And that is the default IP address range for the device. It wants to be on 88.1, and this is with Mikrotik router OS, which I believe is also the same in SwOS. So plug in the password that's right there into there, and then click connect. And the first thing you're prompted by is a little reminder about the stuff. So I'm just going to say okay, and it wants you to create a new password. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And the first thing you actually want to do, you'll notice that the time is 1970. So I don't believe that time travel has yet been figured out aside from 1 second forward at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect it to the internet so that it can download the time from NTP servers. And that will also enable the rest of some other things, being that if it has internet access, it can download software, it can get access to time. So those are 2 things we're going to do right now. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go on the menu and you're going to find IP, and you're going to click DHCP client because you want this device to pull an IP from your network. Then you click the little plus sign and you change the interface to bridge and you click OK. And then hopefully it picks up an IP. There we go. And the next thing we need to do is, what is the next thing we need to do? The next thing we do is reboot. So just go to System and down to Reboot. And do you want to reboot? Yes, I do. And you'll be kicked back to Winbox, and it should come back up when it reconnects. Oh, I'm just kidding. You'll have to update your password. There we are, back up, plugged in my password, and we're back in. And now, it's still 1970. Why? I think we have to turn on NTP. So to get to here, you go to System, NTP Client, and then you do Enabled, and we say, okay. It didn't change yet. NTP Client, Apply. Does it have servers? I have to specify one? No, I shouldn't need to specify. I should get it from DHCP. What did I do different last time? What was different was that I was on a different subnet. So I added NTP into my OpenSense, and now suddenly NTP is showing up as primary, and I didn't do a single thing other than that, changing it on my OpenSense. Right there. And then it's no longer 1970. Okay. And just briefly, for those who don't know what OpenSense is, this is an open source routing software. And so one of the things it provides is DHCP. And so I've gone into my LAN and I've just scrolled down to the NTP server configuration, and I put the IP address of my firewall in there because it also supports NTP. And the service was already running. I just didn't have it being given out. So it's talking to OpenSense pool, yada yada bing bang, and it works just dandy. But if you don't happen to have an NTP server that is configurable for you, you can also just go in here and you can set the time by yourself, which is also perfectly cromulent. Okay, now that we have the correct time, we're gonna try and switch this from router board routing OS to SwOS. One important thing before we do that, this is the volume of the fan of it running normally. The fan is in the back. It's not excessively loud, but it's not exactly quiet. But when you first turn it on, it slowly ramps up and it goes to full power, and then it settles in after the operating system gets loaded. That's router OS. So if we're going to switch to SwOS, we're going to go into System, click on Router Board, and then we're going to go into, not Upgrade, Settings. We're going to change the boot OS to Switch OS, and we're going to say OK, and we're going to say OK. Is that it? Maybe. Now we're gonna do one more thing. We're not gonna do one more thing, but we are gonna just do a reboot. Reboot. And it's rebooting. And the fan is beefing up. It's getting really loud. I would not want this running in the room next to me. All right, and the fan settled down a little bit. And now, using the IP address that we picked up from DHCP, we can load up the web interface and we can log in. So the password for this is probably not the one that you set. It's just admin with no password. So you'll have to go in and change that. And your password is found on the System tab. It still shows this static IP address even though it's responding on 10.10.10.5. But down at the bottom is where you can set the username and password. So the old password is blank, so I'm just going to fill in a password. And then click Change Password. And now I can log in. Perfect. So let's go ahead and reboot this. I'm going to hard unplug because I want you to see something that happens. Let's plug this back in. So that initial fluff, and then this will eventually start up and the fan will ramp up again. One thing of note, this interface is working right now. The first time I did this and it ran firmware 2.17, these SFP interfaces did not function in SwOS. However, after upgrading to the beta firmware, which I obtained by contacting Mikrotik support, and they sent me a link to download it, and then resetting the device, something got changed in here. We're still running SwOS 2.17, but these are working still. So that's a positive. That's a win. That's fantastic. And to see what version, currently installed 2.17 RC2. So yeah, this is how it'll run, running SwOS all day, every day. It doesn't get any quieter than this. Let's go ahead and unplug it and take it apart. And I'm going to show you why. All right, we've got our little switch on the healing bench, and I'm going to go ahead and break the warranty. Just going to open her up and see what is inside. My goal here is actually, we're going to be installing a Noctua NF-A4x20 PWM 12-volt fan. This guy will hopefully make that fan noise a little bit more tolerable. I'm not sure how to adjust the fan speed electronically. SwitchOS and RouterOS seem to have two different ways of managing fan speed. And I don't need RouterOS, even though it is the more powerful operating system. It's just way too complicated for my simple needs. I just wanted 10 gig and 2.5 gig networking with maybe VLANs. Okay, it's very simple inside. It's a punched metal aluminum chassis, and there it is. So we're just going to remove the fan and replace it with the quieter one. That definitely puts a lot of airflow. So this configuration was configured and designed to accommodate with this fan, and I'm doing something the manufacturer will definitely cringe at by putting in a quieter, slower flowing fan. It's okay. We'll find out if it works or not for us. If it doesn't work, we'll change something later. We'll save this. I'm not gonna get it, throw it away. Does it look like I throw anything away? Okay. Now this guy, two of these rubber grommets. This fan was in the configuration of, I believe it was pushing out the back. Yep, so there's a little indicator on there. So it was pushing air out the back, so we're just going to match that same thing. Where's the indicator? All right, pushing out the back. And then these little guys go in like this. Is this how this works? I don't think I've actually ever used these. I've always used screws. Urgh! I don't think this is designed for this. We're not going to use these. We're going to use the screws. Why don't we try and use the screws that it came with? Will those work? Those will not work. But there's screws in the box. There they are. Let's see if those will work. They kind of work. They're a little bit larger. We're just going to have to force it. There we go. Screw number 1 and screw number 2. And then plug it in. And it just plugs right in because it has the same one. So you want to make sure this is, you get the 12-volt PWM version. Otherwise, you blow your fan out trying to stuff a 5-volt PWM in there. They didn't put the thing in there. That's all right. We'll just put it back together now. And let's just try it as is. Oh yeah, much quieter. You can barely hear it. That's probably running full tilt. All the other devices in my area here are making much more noise than this guy. Okay, I'm gonna screw back all the devices. What, you thought that this switch was gonna get out of here without the RGB treatment? Enter ESP8266 and some WS2812s, and also a little step-down board that has a custom voltage output between, well, I'm going to set it to 5 volts out, but it's 27 volts in, up to 27 volts that it can regulate down. Actually, is there just a voltage regulator on here? Because it's got OOSP right there. All right, dangerous as this is, I'm probing the board single-handedly to find a location for power. And actually right here, it looks like there's a little header, and we were getting the output source of 23 volts. And so this little guy is going to be our power source for a little fun project. So we put in 24 volts here. We're going to test this voltage and get this little dial. Oh, where's the dial? Is this not adjustable? I thought this was adjustable. Maybe it just puts out 5 volts. Let's test it. This is indeed 12 volts. I was thinking of this one, which is also black, but is slightly different, and it has jumpers on it. Jumpers? No, it doesn't have jumpers. It just says that it's for 12 volts. These are both kind of the same thing, but different manufacturer. I just don't know which resistor on here I need to change the value of in order for it to register as 12 volts versus 5 volts. Okay, change of plans. I'm actually going to steal 12 volts off of the CPU fan, processor fan, system fan. I tested it. There are 12 volts coming out of here. I've got a Y splitter, which I've beautifully taped down, and then this end, I'm going to steal the power out of it using another thing. Use those, and then I'm going to use a voltage deregulator oscillator device, which this one has solder pads on the bottom, which are really tiny, and we're going to solder 5 volts on there. All right, geese. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Remove my apprentice wires because it was the lead fumes. They got to me. You gotta plan ahead. That's what it boils down to. Can't always just assume. Gotta order the right parts. Aha! We also have to slice this little adjustable link. Otherwise it's in adjustable mode. There we go. Whew, spicy. All right, there. I think we're good. Okay, now we have a working voltage adapter. And I tested it. I get 5 volts. So now I just need to flash this ESP8266 with software to make this blinking light. And it's probably been a while for all you 8266 fans, so you download WLED from GitHub by the Air Cookie Dude, and then you download Expressive's ESP tool, which is now an EXE. You go to Device Manager, and this is assuming you're doing it on Windows, and you find your device. So mine happened to be, this time around, COM3, even though it doesn't say that there. You go into the folder and you erase it using the erase command, and then you flash it using the flash command, and then it turns yellow, and then you have a Wi-Fi dingle hopper that you can plop onto your Wi-Fi or something. All right, so now let's put it in the thing. Okay, moment of truth. Will it light up or will it catch fire? That's weird. That's less than desirable. I have to reset it to get it to go. It was just that one time. Okay. Let's see what happens if I let it sit for a second, chill out, then plug it in. Okay, it was just that one time. I don't know what's up with that. Whatever, that's fine. And now we're going to have RGB lights inside there somewhere. So now we got to figure out where they look good and where to plug them in. All right, challenge. Number 1, done. Electronics. Number 2, luminosities. Oh, what happened? Oh, it's back. Just take a moment to boot up, I guess. But here we are. And here we are. So now we can pick a color. I like that nice blue color. Makes very networky. 10 gigabyte-y. Or we could go like a pink color or something. Purple. Yeah, let's go with that. All right, I didn't like how it was not starting up reliably, and so now, can't, one-handed. Now it comes up reliably, and part of that is because I put in 2 capacitors. This smaller 220 microfarad on the 12 volt side, and then this larger 1000 microfarad on the 5 volt side. So a combination of stabilizing the circuit on the input side and also giving a little bit more resilience to fluctuations on the 12 volt side. So it is pulling a decent amount of current, but it should help with this issue. It seems like I've not had it start between worlds since that. All right, now it's time to assemble it again, finally. It's not a good DIY project unless it's got some hot snot involved. So buttons, that's what we're gonna do. Add a little bit of extra love in for good measure. There, right on the Wi-Fi. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh yeah, look at it in all its glory. Isn't that beautiful? Giant bodge job. And in living color. So that should work really well. Indeed, it does. Now for the finishing touches, I went in and I renamed it to CRS310-RGB because now this is the CRS310-RGB Wi-Fi network for the 310. And then we're connected to it. And now we can now we can change the colors. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That is just gorgeous. So I'm going to set it back to my default 10 gig purple. And there we have it, folks. The Mikrotik CRS310 RGB 2.5 and 10 gig switch. Look at how beautiful it is, and it's running SwOS and WLED. Isn't that awesome? It's fire! Subscribe!